This
What
whole
kind of person
situation with the
claims
HOA
ownership
fees
over
is
a marina that's
completely
been your family's
unsustainable
heart
for
for
the marina.
generations,
We are members, though.
slaps a
They
no
raised the rates
fishing
again
sign
last
on it,
week.
and expects you to just nod and comply? The sun was barely up, casting a golden haze over the still water of my marina, when I saw it, a garish yellow sign, nailed to the weathered dock post like a slap in the face. No fishing. By order of Willow Creek, HOA, my blood boiled. This wasn't just about fishing. This was about control, about someone, Karen, the HOA president with her clipboard and her smug smile, thinking she could rewrite the rules of a place my grandfather built with his bare hands. I stood there, fists clenched, the cool morning air doing nothing to calm the fire in my chest. This marina wasn't just land or water. It was my legacy, my home, my fight. And I wasn't about to let Karen or anyone take it from me. My name's Ethan Caldwell, and I've been running Caldwell Marina for a decade, ever since Dad passed. It's a small place, tucked on the edge of Willow Creek, where the river bends and the world feels quiet. Folks come here to fish, to dock their boats, to breathe. It's not fancy, just a few docks, a bait shop, and a view that makes you believe in something bigger. My family's owned this land since the 1940s, when Grandpa bought it with his Navy savings. The deed's in my safe, clear as day. Private property, no HOA jurisdiction. But Willow Creek HOA, led by Karen Whitmore, had been sniffing around for years, try to flex their muscle. They'd complain about noise, about unsightly boats, about anything they could pin on us. I'd ignored them, mostly, until that sign. I ripped it down, the nails screeching as they came loose. The wood was still warm from the morning sun, and I tossed the sign into the water, watching it bob like a bad joke. Karen thought she could scare me? Fine. I'd play her game, but on my terms. By noon, I had my own sign up, swimming and docking, $50 per day, payable to Caldwell Marina. HOA members only. If she wanted to claim my marina, she could pay for it. I leaned back against the bait shop, arms crossed, waiting for the storm I knew was coming. It didn't take long. Karen's SUV screeched into the gravel lot by two, her heels clicking like gunshots as she marched toward me. Her face was a mask of fury, lips tight, eyes narrowed. Behind her, two HOA board members, Tom, a retired accountant with a perpetual frown, and Lisa, a realtor who smiled like she was selling you a timeshare, trailed like nervous shadows. Ethan Caldwell, Karen snapped, waving a copy of my sign. This is illegal. You can't charge HOA members for anything. I shrugged, leaning against the dock post. You put up a sign saying this is HOA property. I'm just following your lead. Want to swim? Dock. Pay up. Her mouth opened, then closed like a fish out of water. For a moment, I thought I'd won. But Karen wasn't the type to back down. She pointed a manicured finger at me. This isn't over. You'll regret this. The next morning, I woke to a certified letter from the HOA demanding I remove my sign and cease all unauthorized activities. It cited bylaws I never agreed to, claiming the marina was communal property because it bordered their gated neighborhood. Communal? The nerve. My family had been here before their cookie-cutter houses even existed. I crumpled the letter and tossed it into the trash. That's when I saw it through the window, a new sign, bigger, bolder, nailed to the same post. No trespassing. HOA property. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Karen was doubling down. So I did too. I printed a new sign, laminated this time. Caldwell Marina welcomes HOA members, $100 per day for access. Cash only. I hammered it up right below hers, the sound echoing across the water like a challenge. Word spread fast. By afternoon, locals were stopping by, chuckling at the dueling signs. Old man Jenkins, who'd been fishing here since I was a kid, slapped my shoulder. Give him hell, Ethan. But not everyone was laughing. Some HOA residents, the ones who'd sneaked down to fish when Karen wasn't looking, started whispering about fines. Karen was threatening to slap liens on anyone who supported me. The marina was my ground, but she was turning it into a battlefield. I didn't care. I'd fight dirty if I had to. I started digging, Old records, property lines, anything to prove the HOA had no claim. That's when I found it. A 1972 survey buried in Dad's files, showing the marina's boundary extended 10 feet past the dock, right into the HOA's precious communal land. Checkmate. I called my buddy Nate, a lawyer who owed me a favor from fishing trip gone wrong. He read the survey, whistled low, and said, "Ethan, this is gold. They've got nothing." Armed with that, I sent Karen a letter of my own, certified with the survey attached. I demanded she remove her signs and retract her claims, or I'd sue for trespassing. I pictured her face when she read it, that smug smile crumbling. But I underestimated her. Karen didn't just want control, she wanted to win. And she had resources I didn't. The next day, a county inspector showed up, citing violations on my docks. Karen's name was all over the complaint. She wasn't just fighting me, she was trying to bury me. By week's end, the marina was a circus. News trucks parked along the road. Cameras pointed at the signs like they were national monuments. Locals picked sides, most with me, but some, the HOA loyalists, glared from their manicured lawns. I stood on the dock, staring at the water, wondering how it had come to this. All I wanted was to keep my family's legacy alive. But Karen had made it personal, and I wasn't about to lose. Not to her, not to anyone. The marina's air felt heavier now, thick with tension and the faint hum of gossip. I'd always thought of this place as a sanctuary, where the world's noise faded against the lapping water. But Karen had turned it into a stage, and I was center spotlight. The county inspector's visit lingered like a bad smell. He'd poked around, muttering about structural concerns and unpermitted modifications, scribbling notes while glancing nervously at Karen's looming presence across the lot. She stood there, arms crossed, her blonde bob gleaming in the sun like a halo she didn't deserve. I knew her game: drown me in bureaucracy, scare me into submission. But I wasn't scared. I was pissed. Nate called that evening, his voice crackling through my old landline. "Ethan, they're bluffing. The inspector's report is flimsy. Minor code issues. Nothing that shuts you down. But Karen's got pull with the county. We need to hit back hard." I paced the bait shop, the floorboards creaking under my boots. "What's the play?" I asked. Nate's answer was simple. Go public. Show the town who's in the right. So I did. I called the local paper, the Creek Chronicle, and invited them to the marina. By morning, a reporter named Sarah was there, notepad in hand, her photographer snapping shots of the dueling signs. I told her everything: Grandpa's legacy, the deed, the survey. I showed her the marina, the docks I'd rebuilt myself, the community that relied on this place. "This isn't about money," I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my gut. "It's about family, about what's right." The article hit the next day, front page. Local man fights HOA over historic marina. The photo was perfect, me on the dock, arms crossed, my sign bold against the water's shimmer. The headline didn't mention Karen by name, but everyone knew. By noon, my phone was buzzing with support. Fishermen, neighbors, even strangers from across town stopped by, offering handshakes and stories of their own HOA nightmares. But the victory was short-lived. Karen retaliated with a cease and desist letter, accusing me of defamation and unlawful operation. She'd twisted the narrative, claiming I was the bully, extorting her precious HOA. I laughed when I read it, but the laughter died fast. She wasn't just fighting for control, she was fighting to ruin me. That's when the twist came, sharp and unexpected, like a hook in the gut. I was locking up the bait shop one evening when Lisa, the HOA realtor, appeared at the door. Her usual fake smile was gone, replaced by something jittery, almost scared. "Ethan," she whispered, glancing over her shoulder, "I need to talk to you. Off the record." I raised an eyebrow, but let her in. She hesitated, then spilled it. Karen wasn't just after the marina. She was working with a developer, some big shot from the city, who wanted to buy up waterfront properties and turn Willow Creek into a luxury resort. The marina was the linchpin, the last piece of unclaimed land. Lisa had overheard Karen at an HOA meeting bragging about redeveloping the area. HOA fees be damned. She's using the HOA as a front, Lisa said, her voice shaking. She'll push you out, then sell to the highest bidder. I stood there, stunned, the air in the shop feeling too thin. This wasn't just about signs or control. Karen was playing a bigger game, one that could erase everything my family had built. I thanked Lisa, my mind racing. She slipped out, begging me not to tell anyone she'd talked. I didn't plan to. Not yet. But her words lit a fire in me, hotter than before. I wasn't just fighting for the marina now. I was fighting for every small town soul who'd ever been steamrolled by greed. I dug deeper, pulling every record I could find. Old emails, meeting minutes, anything. Nate helped, combing through public records for proof of Karen's deal. We found it, a zoning application buried in county files, linking Karen to a company called Riverfront Ventures. The pieces fit. She wasn't just a control freak. She was a sellout. I decided to up the ante. I printed a new sign, bigger, brasher, Caldwell Marina, open to all, except HOA profiteers. Inquire within. I hung it at the marina's entrance, right where Karen's SUV would pass. Locals loved it, snapping photos and posting them online. The hashtag #SaveCaldwellMarina started trending on X, fueled by folks fed up with HOAs everywhere. But Karen wasn't amused. She called an emergency HOA meeting, inviting the whole town to discuss the marina issue. I knew it was a trap, a chance for her to spin her story and paint me as the villain. I went anyway, Nate by my side, ready to face her head-on. The meeting was set for Friday in the HOA's pristine clubhouse, and I could already feel the storm brewing. As I locked up the marina that night, the water reflected a blood-red sunset, like the world was warning me. I wasn't just fighting Karen anymore. I was fighting a machine, one with money, power, and no soul. But I had something she didn't, the truth, and I was ready to use it. The clubhouse smelled like lemon polish and privilege, its chandeliers glinting above rows of folding chairs packed with HOA members, locals, and curious onlookers. I stood at the back, Nate beside me, watching Karen command the room like a queen on her throne. She wore a crisp white blazer, her voice smooth as she addressed the crowd, painting herself as the victim of my reckless defiance. The projector flashed images of my signs, twisted to look like threats. "Mr. Caldwell's actions endanger our community's values," she said, her eyes flicking to me, daring me to react. I clenched my jaw, waiting. This was her stage, but I'd have my turn. She droned on, citing bylaws, safety concerns, anything to justify her claim on the marina. The crowd murmured, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably. Then she dropped her bombshell, a community plan to modernize the waterfront, complete with glossy renderings of condos and yacht clubs. My marina was erased, replaced by a sterile plaza. My stomach churned. This was it, her endgame, dressed up as progress. I stepped forward, raising my hand. Karen's smile faltered, but she nodded. "Ethan, care to speak?" Her tone was syrupy, but her eyes were knives. I walked to the front, holding the 1972 survey like a shield. "This marina's been my family's for 80 years, I said, my voice steady despite the pounding in my chest. "The deed's clear. The land's mine. Your no fishing signs? Illegal. Your community plan? A lie." I held up the survey, pointing to the boundary lines. "This proves the HOA has no claim. And I've got proof Karen's working with developers to sell our town out." The room erupted, gasps, whispers, shouts. Karen's face went pale, but she recovered fast, banging her gavel. "That's slander," she snapped. "You have no evidence." I smiled, pulling out the zoning application. "Then explain this." The crowd leaned forward, hungry for the truth. I read the application aloud, linking Karen to Riverfront Ventures. Faces turned to her, some shocked, others angry. She stammered, claiming it was exploratory, but the damage was done. Locals started shouting questions, demanding answers. Karen's allies, Tom and Lisa, shrank in their seats. I felt a rush, like the tide turning. But Karen wasn't finished. She stood, her voice icy. "This meeting's over. We'll resolve this legally." She stormed out, the crowd buzzing in her wake. The next day, the marina was quieter, but the fight was far from over. Karen's lawyer sent a new letter, threatening a lawsuit for defamation and interference. Nate laughed when he read it. "She's desperate," he said. "Keep pushing." So I did. I organized a town rally at the marina, inviting everyone, fishermen, shop owners, even HOA members who'd started doubting Karen. Sarah from the Creek Chronicle covered it, her article calling it a stand for small-town soul. Over 100 people showed up, their voices echoing across the water as they chanted, "Save our marina." I stood on the dock, holding a megaphone, telling them about Grandpa, about the nights I'd spent learning to fish here, about what this place meant. For the first time, I felt like I wasn't alone. But Karen had her own moves. She'd rallied her loyalists, spreading rumors that I was dodging taxes, that the marina was unsafe. The county inspector returned, this time with a shutdown order citing urgent safety violations. I read the report, pure nonsense, but it had teeth. If I didn't comply, they'd padlock the docks. I called Nate, my voice shaking with rage. "Can they do this?" He sighed. "They're trying to bleed you dry with legal fees. You need to fight this in court." Court. The word felt like a weight on my chest. I wasn't rich. I didn't have Karen's connections. But I had the town, and I had the truth. That night, I walked the docks alone, the water black and still. I thought about giving up, selling the marina, walking away. It'd be easier. But then I remembered Lisa's confession, the developer's plan, the way Karen's eyes gleamed when she thought she'd won. No, this was bigger than me now. I wasn't just fighting for the marina. I was fighting for everyone who'd ever been bullied by someone like her. I went back to the bait shop, pulled out every document I had, and started planning. Court was coming, and I'd be ready. The courtroom smelled like old wood and stale coffee, a cramped space where the air felt too thick to breathe. I sat at the plaintiff's table, Nate beside me, his tie slightly crooked, but his eyes sharp. Across the room, Karen sat with her lawyer, a slick city type named Grayson who looked like he charged by the syllable. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Hargrove, peered over her glasses at the packed gallery. Locals, reporters, even Old Man Jenkins, who brought his fishing hat as a quiet rebellion. This was it, the showdown. Caldwell versus Willow Creek, HOA, my marina, my legacy, my everything, hanging on a line. Nate presented our case with surgical precision, laying out the deed, the 1972 survey, the zoning application tying Karen to Riverfront Ventures. He called Lisa as a witness, who, despite her trembling hands, confirmed Karen's developer ties under oath. The gallery murmured, and I saw Karen shift in her seat, her composure cracking. Grayson fought back, painting me as a reckless troublemaker, my signs as extortion. He waved the inspector's report like a flag, claiming the marina was a public hazard. But Nate was ready. He produced maintenance records, photos of the docks, proof I'd followed every code. The inspector's report, he argued, was biased, pushed by Karen's influence. Judge Hargrove's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing, scribbling notes. Then Karen took the stand. She was polished, her voice steady, but her story was flimsy. She claimed the HOA's actions were for the community, that my marina was a liability. When Nate cross-examined her, asking about Riverfront Ventures, she faltered, her answers vague. I could feel the room tilting in my favor. But Grayson wasn't done. He called a surprise witness, a county official who claimed my docks encroached on public land. My heart sank. The survey said otherwise, but the official's testimony was smooth, rehearsed. Nate objected, demanding proof, but the damage was done. Doubt crept into the gallery's faces, and I felt the tide slipping. That night, I couldn't sleep. The marina was dark, the docks silent under a sliver of moon. I walked to the water's edge, the cold biting my skin. What if I lost? What if Karen's money and connections won out? I thought of Grandpa, his calloused hands teaching me to tie knots, his stories of building this place from nothing. I couldn't let it end like this. The next morning, Nate called with a lifeline, a retired surveyor who'd worked on a 1972 map. He was old, frail, but sharp, and he agreed to testify. We brought him to court, his voice steady as he confirmed the Marina's boundaries, debunking the county officials' claims. The gallery buzzed, and Karen's lawyer looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. But the real blow came from an unexpected place. Sarah, the reporter, had been digging. She'd found emails between Karen and Riverfront Ventures, leaked by an HOA whistleblower. They detailed plans to sell the Marina's land for millions, with Karen getting a cut. Nate submitted them as evidence, and the courtroom erupted. Judge Hargrove banged her gavel, but the truth was out. Karen's face was stone, her eyes darting to the exit. I leaned back, a small smile breaking through. We had her. The judge called a recess, and I stepped outside, the cool air hitting my face. Locals patted my shoulder, their support a quiet strength. But I knew it wasn't over. Karen's couldn't go down easy. When court resumed, Grayson tried to spin the emails as misunderstandings, but the damage was done. Judge Hargrove's ruling came a week later. The Marina was mine, the HOA's claims invalid, their signs illegal. She ordered Karen to pay legal fees and issued a warning about frivolous lawsuits. The gallery cheered, and I felt a weight lift like I could breathe again. But victory was bittersweet. The fight had cost me time, money, peace. The Marina was safe, but the town was fractured. Some HOA members apologized, others doubled down, loyal to Karen despite everything. I went back to the Marina, staring at the water, the docks, the signs now gone. I thought it was over. I was wrong. The Marina should have felt like home again, but it didn't. The docks were mine, the water still sparkled, but the fight had left scars. Locals stopped by, their smiles warm but cautious, like they were waiting for the next shoe to drop. I tried to focus on the routine, restocking bait, fixing nets, greeting fishermen, but my eyes kept drifting to the horizon, where the HOA's gated houses loomed like silent threats. Karen had lost in court, but people like her didn't just disappear. They regrouped, and I was right to worry. A week after the ruling, I got a call from Sarah. Her voice was low, urgent. "Ethan, check your email." Now, I opened my laptop, and there it was, a forwarded message from an anonymous source, a draft proposal from Riverfront Ventures. It wasn't over. The developer, spooked by the lawsuit, had pulled back, but Karen was pitching a new plan, a community partnership to manage the Marina under HOA oversight. It was a rebrand of her old scheme, dressed up in softer words, but the goal was the same: control, then profit. She'd already scheduled a town hall to push it, claiming it was for the greater good. I slammed my laptop shut, my hands shaking. She was like a weed, impossible to kill. I called Nate, who cursed under his breath when I read him the proposal. "She's banking on the town being tired of fighting," he said. "You need to shut this down fast." I knew he was right, but I was exhausted. The court battle had drained my savings, and the constant tension was wearing me thin. I walked to the dock, staring at the water, searching for answers. That's when Old Man Jenkins found me, his fishing pole slung over his shoulder. "You giving up, boy?" he asked, his voice gruff but kind. I shook my head, but he saw through me. "This place ain't just yours, Ethan. It's ours. Don't let her take it." His words hit hard, like a splash of cold water. He was right. This wasn't just my fight anymore. I rallied the town again, but this time it was different. People were angry, fed up with Karen's schemes. The town hall was packed, standing room only, the air electric with defiance. Karen stood at the podium, her smile practiced, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. She talked about unity and progress, waving her proposal like a flag of peace. I waited, letting her dig her own grave. When it was my turn, I didn't hold back. I read the proposal aloud, exposing its hidden clauses, fees, restrictions, a clause that could transfer management to the HOA in 5 years. The crowd booed, their voices rising like a storm. Karen tried to interrupt, but I held up the leaked emails, tying her to Riverfront Ventures again. "This isn't unity," I said, my voice carrying over the noise. "This is greed." The room exploded. People shouted questions, demanded accountability. Karen's allies tried to defend her, but they were drowned out. Someone, Jenkins, I think, yelled, "Leave our Marina alone," and the chant spread, shaking the walls. Karen's face twisted, her composure gone. She grabbed her papers and left, her heels echoing in the sudden silence. The proposal was dead, and so was her credibility. The town had spoken. But the victory felt hollow. The Marina was safe, for now, but the fight had changed me. I saw threats everywhere, every new face, every letter in the mail. I wondered if it would ever end. Then, one morning, a group of kids showed up, fishing poles in hand, their parents trailing behind. They were locals, not HOA, and they thanked me for keeping the Marina open. One kid, barely 10, handed me a drawing of the docks, boats bobbing under a bright sun. "This is my favorite place," he said. I looked at the drawing, my throat tight, and realized why I'd fought so hard. Not just for me or Grandpa, but for them, for the future. The Marina settled into a fragile peace, the kind that feels like the calm after a storm, but before the next one brews. I went back to work, repairing nets, selling bait, teaching kids how to cast lines like Grandpa taught me. The town rallied around me, their support a quiet hum in the background. Coffee left on the bait shop counter, free dinners at the diner, notes tucked under my windshield wiper saying, "Keep fighting, Ethan." But Karen's shadow lingered. She'd gone quiet, her SUV no longer prowling the gravel lot. But I knew better than to think she'd given up. People like her never did. Sarah kept digging, her reporter's instinct sharp as a knife. She called me one evening, her voice tense. "Ethan, I found something. Meet me at the diner." I drove over, the neon sign flickering in the dusk. She slid into the booth across from me, pushing a folder my way. Inside were photos, grainy, but clear enough. Karen, meeting with a man in a suit at a coffee shop in the city. Sarah had cross-referenced his face online, Riverfront Ventures executive. The photos were dated after the town hall, proof Karen was still scheming. "She's not done," Sarah said, sipping her coffee. "She's just smarter now." I took the photos home, my mind racing. I'd won in court, killed her proposal, but she was still circling, waiting for me to slip. Nate suggested a preemptive strike, file a harassment claim, maybe a restraining order, but I hesitated. I didn't want to live like this, always looking over my shoulder. I wanted my Marina back, the way it used to be. Simple, free mine. But freedom came with a cost, and I was learning just how high it could be. The next blow came quietly, disguised as routine. A new county ordinance passed, requiring waterfront businesses to submit annual environmental reports. It sounded harmless, but the fine print was a trap. Costly inspections, permits I'd never needed before. I recognized Karen's fingerprints. She'd lobbied the county, using her connections to tighten the screws. The Marina's profits were thin. I couldn't afford thousands in fees. I sat in the bait shop, staring at the numbers, feeling the walls close in. That's when Lisa showed up again, her face pale, her eyes darting. "Ethan, I'm sorry," she whispered. "Karen's pushing the board to fund a new lawsuit. They're saying you violated the ordinance already." I stared at her, the weight of it all crashing down. Another lawsuit, another fight. I wasn't sure I had it in me. But the town did. Word of the ordinance spread, and people got angry. Not just for me, but for every small business in Willow Creek facing the same squeeze. Jenkins organized a protest, and soon the Marina was packed again, this time with signs saying, "No more HOA games," and "Hands off our town." Sarah's next article hit like a bomb, exposing the ordinance as a targeted attack, with quotes from anonymous county insiders pointing to Karen's influence. The county backed off, delaying the ordinance for review. It was a win, but a small one. Karen was still out there, and I knew she'd try again. I started to see the Marina differently, not just as my fight, but as a symbol, Every fisherman who cast a line, every kid who skipped rocks, every couple who watched the sunset from the dock, they were part of this place too. I couldn't let it go. So I kept fighting, not just for me, but for them. I met with the town council, pitched a historic landmark status for the Marina, something to shield it from future attacks. They listened, moved by the stories of what this place meant to Willow Creek. It wasn't a done deal, but it was a start. As winter crept in, the marina grew quiet, the water icing at the edges. I stood on the dock one evening, the air sharp, the stars bright. I thought about Grandpa, about the kid with the drawing, about the town that had my back. The fight wasn't over, but I wasn't alone anymore. And that was enough to keep going. Spring brought new life to the marina. Green shoots along the banks, fish jumping in the warming water, kids laughing as they ran across the docks. The town council approved the landmark status, a small plaque now bolted to the bait shop. Caldwell Marina, St. 1942. A Willow Creek legacy. It wasn't just a win, it was a shield, one that made Karen's schemes harder to pull off. She'd gone quiet, her SUV rarely seen, her name fading from the town's chatter. But I didn't trust the silence. I kept the leaked emails, the photos, the survey, all locked in my safe, ready for the next fight. Because with people like Karen, there was always a next fight. The marina thrived. Fishermen returned, their boats bobbing like old friends. Families picnicked on the grass, their kids learning to cast lines under Jenkins' gruff instruction. Sarah's articles had turned the marina into a local legend, drawing visitors from neighboring towns, all eager to support the little guy who beat the HOA. I didn't feel like a hero, though. I was just a guy who refused to lose what mattered. But the town's gratitude was real. Handwritten notes, free pies, a new coat of paint for the bait shop, courtesy of a local hardware store. It felt like we'd won something bigger than a lawsuit. Then, one morning, I found a letter slipped under the bait shop door. No stamp, no return address, just my name in sharp, familiar handwriting. Karen. My stomach twisted as I opened it. Inside was a single page, her words cold and precise. You may have won the battle, Ethan, but the war's not over. Enjoy your little victory. No signature, but it didn't need one. I stood there, the paper trembling in my hand, the marina's peace feeling fragile again. I showed it to Nate, who frowned but said, "She's bluffing. She's got nothing left." I wanted to believe him, but I knew better. Karen wasn't done. She was waiting, plotting, biding her time. I didn't tell the town about the letter. They'd fought enough, believed enough. Instead, I doubled down. I started a community fund to maintain the marina, letting locals pitch in for repairs, new docks, even a small playground for the kids. The response was overwhelming. Donations poured in, not just money but time, skills, love. Jenkins built benches. Sarah's photographer friend made a website. The kid who'd given me the drawing, now a regular, helped paint the new sign, Caldwell Marina, open to all. I looked at it, my chest tight with something I hadn't felt in years, hope. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the water gold, I stood on the dock with Jenkins. He lit a cigarette, the smoke curling into the dusk. "You did good, Ethan," he said, his voice rough but warm. "Your grandpa'd be proud." I nodded, unable to speak. I thought about the fights, the sleepless nights, the moments I'd almost given up. It wasn't just about the marina anymore. It was about standing up, about holding on to what's yours, about building something that lasts. Karen could scheme all she wanted. I had the town, the water, the truth. And that was enough. As the stars came out, I walked back to the bait shop, the letter still in my pocket. I didn't know what Karen's next move would be, but I was ready. The marina was mine, not just by deed, but by heart. And no one, not Karen, not a developer, not 1,000 HOAs, could take that away. The water lapped gently.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. They can't fence off the marina and charge these fees.
The plaque glinting in the moonlight.
The Homeowners Association established these rates legally.